Titilayo and her 3 children were deported back to South Africa from Ireland, not even to Nigeria. Imagine spending years trying to escape danger. Imagine running from xenophobic attack in South Africa. Imagine finally finding safety in Ireland, only for the government to put you and your children on a plane back to the very place you fled from. This is the heartbreaking story of Titilayo Oyekanmi and her 3 sons. Samuel, 18, Joseph, 14, and Genesis, just 5-year-old. A Nigerian family whose deportation from Ireland has shocked community across Europe and Africa. Today, we're going to dive deep into what really happened, why the Irish government deported them, and why hundreds of people, including school children, protested to stop their deportation. Stay with me, please, because this story is emotional, complex, and painfully real. Titilayo is a Nigerian mother who once lived in South Africa with her children, but life there became unbearable to her. According to the multiple reports, including Irish newspaper, Irish Independent newspaper, the family faced severe xenophobic attack targeting Nigerians. They live in fear. They survived threat, and at one point, our eldest son, Samuel, narrowly escaped a kidnapping attempt in South Africa. So, the mother has no choice. She needs to do what? She needs to save the life of her children. She was terrified, and Titilayo made a desperate decision. She fled South Africa and seek for safety in Ireland. But in 2023, the family arrived Dublin and they applied for political asylum. These people, they put their finger in the machine. They hoped Ireland would give them a fresh start in life because they see it as a place where children could grow up without fear. And for a while now, it seems like things were finally getting better to or with this family. The boys enrolled in school. They made friends. They even became part of the community. Neighbors described them as kind, respectful, and hardworking family. They want them around them. Samuel, the eldest, was even preparing for his leaving certificate, the Irish equivalent and final high school exam, a major milestone in life for any teenagers. The family was settling in. They were even rebuilding their life piece by piece. But then, everything changed. In late 2023, the Irish government rejected their asylum application. Titilayo, their mother, appealed because our life is in danger there in South Africa. But the appeal was also denied. A deportation order was issued sharp that they need to go back to South Africa. This decision shocked the whole community when they all got to know. Teachers, neighbors, classmates, and the local residents, they were outraged. According to the report, dozens of people, including school children, they protested outside the government offices. As a matter of fact, they held signs. They were even chanted, and they begged the authority, please reconsider them. Let them stay in Ireland. We need them. We want them in our society. They're so good here. Some wrote letters, some petitioned, and some even offered to sponsor this family in Ireland. Don't worry, I will sponsor them. They argued that the family, they were well integrated in Ireland. That even the children, that they were thriving in school and also in their sports. That sending them back to South Africa will even put them in a danger. So please, Irish government, kindly let these people stay in Ireland. That deporting them will even tear apart a community that had embraced them in Ireland. But despite all this plea, the government did not change their mind. They remain adamant that these people, they need to go back to South Africa. On Saturday morning, the Irish government department confirmed that 63 people, including 9 children, were deported on a chartered flight from Dublin Airport. Among them was our sister, Titilayo, and her 3 sons. They packed them, they put them inside that chartered flight. The deportation was carried out with the Irish police officers. In fact, medical staffs, they were also present, and they even gave them an interpreter. Also an human rights observer, was also there to observe the moving or the deportation of these people back to South Africa. This was not a small operation. It was a coordinated government approval removal in Ireland. When interviewed by the Irish Independent newspaper, our sister Titilayo broke down in tears, wojo, wojo. And she said, while she was even crying, Samuel, my son, is preparing for his living cert. Taking him, please, out this stage of his life is going to affect his future. It makes me cry. And she continued again. We had to run away from the threat of our lives in South Africa. We escaped kidnapping. Now, they want to send us back to the same country that we fled from. Please, don't deport us. The lady was crying. Our word captured the fear and the heartbreak of a mother who felt powerless. Because now, she was powerless. Everybody tried, but still the government said they need to go. For you to understand this, we need to look at the island asylum system. Ireland, like many other European countries, has strict rules for granting refugee status. To qualify, applicants must prove they face persecution, violence, threats, or danger in their home country, Gaga. But here's the complication. The Oyekanmi family fled South Africa, not Nigeria, because they believe that if they have problem in South Africa, they should have gone back to Nigeria. And South Africa is even considered as a safe country by European standard, despite this xenophobic violence. They see them as safe country, that is South Africa. So legally, the Irish government, they argue this point out back and forth. And they said they were not fleeing from Nigeria. They were not fleeing from a war zone. They flee from South Africa, and South Africa is safe. So they need to go back. The case did not meet the threshold of asylum seekers in Ireland. This is where the application and appeal were rejected. But critics, they also argue a point here. They said xenophobic attacks in South Africa are real, that Nigerians are being targeted in South Africa. So sending these people back to South Africa, especially people have seen them on social media, that their life is in danger. The family, they've got all the threat documents. The system now failed there. This debate is still ongoing on social media. After the deportation, the community in Ireland, they were devastated because for 2-3 good weeks they were protesting. So seeing these people, sending them back to South Africa, the community, they felt betrayed. Teachers cried. Students were confused. Neighbors felt betrayed by the system of Ireland. One teacher even told the media that these boys you were seeing, they were part of our school. They were loved. In fact, they were doing well. This is cruel. Another resident in that neighborhood said, Ireland's supposed to be a compassionate country. This is not who we are. It's supposed to be a compassionate country. Why deporting these people? The story spread across social media. Many Nigerians in the diaspora now, they now express anger and fear, saying, if this can happen to these people, it can also happen to any one of us, So, please, let us make sure that we tie all our immigration paper, make it tight. The family is now back in South Africa, the same place they fled from. The future is uncertain as we speak now. Samuel's education had been disrupted. Joseph and Genesis have uprooted again. Titilayo, the mother, is terrified for their safety because now they were all in the limelight and awkward were risky in South Africa now for them. Human rights groups, they're now calling for a review for the deportation. They said there should be a kind of better protection for families who fled xenophobia, attack. And they even argue that more compassionate immigration policy need to put in place. But for now, the Oyekanmi family must start all over again. This story raised important questions that I want each one of you guys to please give me the answer in the comment. Should countries treat xenophobic violence as a legitimate asylum reason? Number 2, are African migrants being held to unfair standards? Number 3, should families with school-age children be protected from deportation? Number 4, how can communities support vulnerable migrants? These are not simple issues. They are not simple questions, but they are very, very important questions that I want you guys to answer and give me the answer in the comment. Stories like Titilayo remind us that behind every immigration cases, behind every deportation order, behind every headline are, there are real people, real families, and real children with dreams. If you believe this story needs to be heard, please share this video, leave a comment, let your voice be part of the conversation. Because sometimes the difference between justice and injustice is simply whether the world is paying attention. And don't forget to turn on that notification bell, because I'm going to come back with update on this matter. And if you don't turn on your notification bell, you might not hear my bang for the update. Till I see you guys in the next video. And also, please don't forget to also follow this platform.